Notice that the third element is 0. The program is asking for an index, and we read the index from the user. Now it depends on the value of the index. We could have 3 types of exceptions depending on this input. Let us explore these exceptions. Now we will run the program. Now let us first try if we give an index that is out of bound. How many elements do we have in the array A? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we are asking for an index. Suppose we say 9. And we don't have an element at 9. Or let's say 12 as an example. And see, notice what happens. An exception has been thrown. And this exception is of type array index out of bounds exception. And this is the message that is displayed for the exception. Now let us run the program again. Now this time we are going to give the index 2. Now if you give the index 2, then we are referring to the index variable at 2. And what is this value at 2? This is at index 0, which is 1. At index 1, which is 1. At index 2, we have 0. So we are dividing 30 over 0. So in here we are going to have an exception which is divisible by 0. So let us enter 2. And this is the exception that we are having. It is arithmetic exception. And this is the message. It says divide by 0. Now let us run the program for the third time. But this time we are going to give it not an integer. We are going to give it a double value. And notice here we are reading an integer. So next int will throw an exception. And this exception is, as before, you have seen this type of exception. It is of type input mismatch exception. So in fact, this program throws 3 types of exceptions. So let me show you how we can catch these 3 exceptions one by one. And then later I will show you how to catch all of them by using only one catch statement. Now let us handle the first exception, which is arithmetic expression, which is the arithmetic exception. So we put the code, this code inside a try statement. So we type a try and we put all of these lines inside a try. And then we will follow try by a catch. And here we put the class of the exception, which is arithmetic exception. So we write arithmetic exception and we give it a name. We are going to call it exp. And inside the exception, you just display any message that you would like. So we will say system.out.println, and here we will say divide by 0. And then we close the catch statement. We have already closed it. Okay, so we will just leave it as it is. Let us format the program. Now it is formatted. And now let us test it and see that the program catches this exception. So we run the program. So now we will give 2 as an input. And see now the exception has been caught by catch. And the message divide by 0 is displayed inside catch. Now what if we use getMessage method that is inside the object exp? So in here, let us just display the message. So we will go inside the catch. And we will say system.out.println, and simply here we say exp.getMessage. And as we said before, that getMessage will be the message that the exception displays on the output screen. Let us run the program again. Now if you give 2, and as you see, this is the message that we have used inside the catch, and this is the user defined message. And this is the message that is defined inside the exception object, which is divide symbol followed by 0. Now we have to leave one of these messages. Let us just leave the user defined message, which is divide by 0. Now to handle the other exception, then we have to add another catch. So we will say catch, and the other exception will be array index out of bounds exceptions. So we type the name, we write the name of the exception. So we write the name of the class of the exception, array index out of bounds exception, and also we will give it exp. And we will display a user-defined message. We will say system.out.println, and simply we will say that array index is out of bound. And let us see what is the message displayed by the object. So here we'll say system.out.println, and here we will say exp.getMessage, and let us see what is the message that is displayed by this exception. Now we will run the program. Now to get array index out of bound exception, we have to give 9 as an input. And see now what happens. The exception has been caught by the second catch, and this is the user defined message, array index is out of bound, and this is the message that is displayed by the exception itself, and we displayed it by calling the method getMessage from the object. Now let us put a catch for the third exception, and this type will be input mismatch exception. So we put the class name of this exception, input mismatch exception, and again we will call it exp, and we will repeat the same statements that we have used for the previous catch, copy and paste, but here we need to change the message, and we will say that the input must be an integer. Let us see what the object of the exception contains as a message we displayed on the screen. Now we run the program, and now we will give the index a double value 3.5, and as you can see that the input must be an integer is displayed as a user defined message, but the object of the exception, when it was created, the message was null, so nothing is displayed for this type of exception.